Harrison Jr. touchdown. Marvelous Mark.
Ball next to the end zone, dropped it in for Franklin. A majestic touchdown.
This is Chasing the Natty, a college fantasy football podcast. All right, good evening, everybody. This is Jared Palmgren, host of the Chasing the Natty podcast. Hope you guys are having a wonderful Sunday night here on this 4th of July weekend. We are doing what any great American does, and that is talk about college football and play college fantasy football. On tonight with me is Mr. Tommy Harvey from DynastyPros.com. Tommy, how you doing tonight, man?
Man, I'm doing great. How are you doing tonight, Jared?
I'm doing good. Having some Chipotle. It's rainy as hell down here in Georgia right now, but I kind of realized this is getting in my car to go to the grocery store and grab some Chipotle. Like, there's something comforting about a summer storm. I don't know, if I'm crazy for that, but as I was kind of walking around, kind of smelled the storm coming. I was just like, feels like I'm home. I forget, Tommy, where are you out of?
I'm right outside Knoxville.
Oh, okay, gotcha. That's right. Oh, yeah, that's right. You're a UT guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, it's been a long time coming, dude. We've been talking for years. We met at the expo last year and everything. I just never got you on the show. But shoot, this kind of shows the perfect opportunity to come on here. Shoot, you're in these drafts every other week. So glad to finally have you on.
Oh yeah, man. Anytime I'm always open to coming on. Always open to being in these drafts, and I love it. I'd much rather be in these. I'd much rather be in these on a Sunday night than not doing anything. So
exactly, it's a ton of fun. You come here, you hang out with some friends and everything like that.
Yep.
Why not? Again, we got Ryan in the chat right now complaining about fan tracks. But those of you who are listening and are not active in the chat, go ahead and drop us some questions and everything. We got about 6.5 minutes here before the draft actually kicks off, so we probably have time for one or two questions before we get started. But then once things kick off, we'll be discussing the draft. We'll be discussing which players we're going to pick up here and everything like that. So we will be good to go there. Anyway, in terms of what we could talk about, because nobody's putting anything in the chat. Come on, y'all. You guys can also go ahead and drop a like. Again, the likes help us out a ton there. Go ahead and share us with all of your college football buddies. Again, we're a college fantasy show, but at the same time, we are here to just hang out with y'all. We are here to discuss anything to do with college football. So any kind of questions you have, we are willing to discuss it. Chris B in the chat, ready to roll. Yes, sir, you are. We got 12 people here. For those of you who have not listened to one of these shows before, we are here doing a 30-round draft. We got, let's see, I think it's 2 quarterback, 2 running back, 3 wide receivers, and 1 tight end, and then 1 flex spot. Best ball kind of draft here. So again, we call it a mock draft, but again, we throw a little bit of money in there just to make it a little bit more interesting for everybody involved. And it basically winner takes all. It's a very low stakes league, but we're here to have fun for the most part. All right, we got Kane in the chat also ready to go here. I love it, y'all. Again, just make sure you keep sharing, keep hitting that like button, and we will get this. We will get the word out to as many people as possible as this show gets going along. Keeson, welcome to the chat, sir. Do not recognize you from before, so appreciate you tuning in, sir. Tommy, this is a question you can answer. What's the Tyler Shuck hype about? Why do we love Tyler Shuck in CFF, Tommy?
That's the offense he's in. Being able to roll in that offense, he's always the starting quarterback at Texas Tech and that Zach Hitley offense is always going to put up big numbers. And if you believe Shuck is going to stay healthy, he's going to be a very solid QB for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, like you're talking about 40 plus passes every single game. Oh, Tommy, you didn't tell me you had a cat too. Oh,
Yeah,
she's so cute.
I've got 2 cats and 2 dogs. The dogs went upstairs, so the cats are coming down here now.
I get it. My girlfriend wants us to get 2 dogs and 2 cats as well. I told her we can get the cats, we can get the dogs later. But anyway, continuing to talk about Tyler Shuck. I'm trying to pull up some of his stats here and everything like that. Especially here in the bowl game, we really kind of saw what he could look like if he is truly the starter the whole time. Again, 24 for 39 pass attempts, 242 yards, a touchdown. Not great, but he actually showed a lot of rushing in that game. 25 carries, 111 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's something would be a very interesting twist to a Zach Kidley offense if they are going to let him run just a little bit more. But then that
actually kind of scares me about him because he's very injury not prone, but
he has bad injury luck.
Yeah, injury adjacent, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to his time at Oregon, whenever he played, he was great. It's just he couldn't stay on the field. So that always scares me with guys who are like him. They just tend to get hurt, whether they're missing actual full games or the worst thing is when he starts a game and then goes out in the middle of the second quarter.
Mm-hmm. No, again,
that's what that really sucks about it.
Yeah, they're definitely a staff that seems to be okay with trying guys out. So they'll put Shuck out there, making you think oh, he's gonna start, he's good to go, and then they pull him after 2 series because they're like, he's not as good as we thought we were gonna do. We're gonna throw Morton out there. It's like, well, why did I start him in CFF this week? So definitely something to worry about there. But again, like you said, Tom, if he stays healthy, that is one of the most prolific passing offenses in the country, assuming everybody's healthy. Again, they need to get some better luck on receiver health, as well, because Miles Price was injured a good chunk of last season. They had some stuff going with Loic Fouonji. He got hurt a little bit as well. Jaron Bradley got hurt at times. It was just they couldn't keep nobody healthy in that offense for the most part. So hopefully they have a lot better luck this year, because it sucks when a CFF team like that basically is just neutered by bad injury luck. Again, go ahead.
If they could keep Bradley healthy, and he's their most talented wide receiver.
You think so?
If they could keep him healthy, and if they could keep Miles Price healthy and over there in the slot, I think both of them could have really big years. But again, it's keeping them healthy.
I mean, you're 100% right. How do you? Okay, we'll kind of springboard off of that there, Tommy, because I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that Bradley's the most talented wide receiver there. How do you break down that wide receiver room? Because you got Bradley, you got Price coming in from last year, and then you got Dre McCray now there, the transfer from Austin Peay coming in as well. How do you break down the receiver room?
Probably right in that order: Bradley, Price, and Dre McCray. McCray's going to have to is stepping up big time in competition level. So he's he's one of those guys who are kind of in that prove it stage. Kind of like a Carson Steele, going out to going from G5 to Power 5. Dre McCray is even taking a bigger step than that, going from FCS to Power 5. So, I mean, some of these guys are going to be in kind of prove it territory. So, grabbing them in best ball is probably much better than grabbing them in season long.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting receiver room. The slot position is what you want to target in Kitley's offense. Jared Stearns absolutely dominated there when we saw Ben Arbuckle at Western Kentucky the very next year. Once again, it was Malachi Corley there in the slot that dominated. So I would think that, again, Miles Price and Dre McCray are the most interesting to me. I think Bradley's the most safe player amongst all of them right now, because we know he's going to lock down one of those outside positions. But the ceiling is still with Price and The thing is, though, Dre McCray earned a ton of praise throughout the spring, and he was talking to the media, and that's something I kind of pay attention for a lot of times, is we hear hype about different players, but coaches really kind of show how much they trust a player when they do let them talk to the media pretty consistently. And Dre McCray was all over the interviews for Texas Tech this offseason, so he's still somebody that's pretty interesting to me. But I think all three of those guys are worth a stab in all of these drafts. If they don't work out for you, they're all going late enough to where you're not going to hurt too much in your leagues if you mess up on those picks. All right, so I know Ryan was having some trouble getting in. Hopefully this auto pick just gives him somebody. Okay, you got Drake May. So we'll just keep it moving along here. Ethan's on the clock. Tommy, you are at the 1-8 spot. I am all the way here at the 1-12 spot. What do you kind of look for in the first round of your CFF drafts here, Tommy?
Well, it really depends on how many quarterbacks are gone by then, because you got your first handful of quarterbacks who are the high end guys, and then you're also looking at you got a couple wide receivers, maybe a couple running backs going also. So it really depends on what's falling to me there.
Okay. Well, again, you got a couple of quarterbacks coming off the board here: Williams, Drake May, Austin Reed. So again, you still got that top tier right there. Are you hoping to grab one of those quarterbacks, or you looking at a different position right now? Because you got Malachi Corley and Marvin Harrison Jr. came off the board
Corley
here.
And Marvin Harrison are gone, so I'm probably looking away from wide receiver right now. Judkins just went. Yep. So yeah, I mean, you're probably looking at, you got a couple running backs here, maybe another quarterback or two. Then you're probably, mainly it's all about getting your guys.
Well, who is your guy here, Tommy?
Well, I probably can't let him go here, so I will. I'll probably go ahead and take him. I'm going to go Raheem Sanders right here.
3 running backs off the board there, and you took pretty much all 3 that are worth a first round grab, in my opinion.
Yeah. I couldn't let him fall below 8 there.
Alrighty, let's see. It's coming up on me here. I love going wide receiver early, but man, there's some value falling to me. I'm kind of for once, I'm kind of hoping these next few picks kind of help me out in terms of just taking some guys off my board and making it a little bit easier for me to of which 2 guys I'm going to go with, because there's a lot of good options here at the first turn. That's not one of the guys I wanted to come off the board, although a good pick, Goose. Let's see if Shane and Juiced, or I think that's Chris B at the very end. I'm also going to make sure that Shane is still okay. So Shane is in the chat. Perfect. All right, Torrey Horton. That is one of the guys that I was looking at there. Who do I go with? There are a lot of good options that kind of fall to me here on this turn. Who do I go with here? Because I think I'm definitely going to grab one of the tight ends. I think that it makes a lot of sense for me to grab a tight end early on, because if I don't grab either Bowers or Gadsden here, there's no way in hell they're making it back to me in the 3rd round.
You could dangerously take both of them.
I could live dangerously and take both of them, but you know what? I haven't gotten a single share of Bowers this year, so I'm going to go ahead and grab him. I could have gone Gadsden. That's probably the safer pick, considering that he's actually a receiver, not a tight end, but that's a different discussion for a different day. And do I go elite on the quarterback here, or do I grab, you know what? I'm going to go wide receiver. I've been big on grabbing wide receivers early. Go ahead and give me a Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver out of Ohio State. Yep, Chris is in the chat. Will also in the chat says, don't sleep on LeJohntay. Will, we will have a chance to discuss LeJohntay, I'm sure, later in this draft, because I do love me some LeJohntay. In fact, what do I have LeJohntay rated as? I have him as my wide receiver. Where are you, LeJohntay? He is my wide receiver 25. So if he is still available to me in that range, I will 100% grab him. Will, trust me, I am doing the opposite of sleeping on LeJohntay. He is an incredible receiver.
Well, you were talking about tight ends a minute ago. Let me ask you a question here.
What's up?
If he were to get the waiver, Do you think Eric Gilbert is worth a late round pick?
No, because from all intents and purposes, it sounds like that he's been playing on the second team.
Okay.
With Nebraska, again, he's been dealing with some weight issues and everything like that. Dude, you got some good picks on the board still.
Yeah. I almost feel like I have to take my guy here, though. I don't necessarily want to take him right now.
There's again, you got two really good picks on the board here. Like, dude, people rather get some really, really good picks here because I'm surprised a certain quarterback still on the board. I probably should have taken him, but I feel better about quarterback later. That really goes to show, like, I think people are starting to buy into more. I've been big on the grabbing quarterback in like the mid rounds, like the 7 to 10 round range. But the problem is that, like, I think people have taken that to mean like, oh, don't go for the elite QBs at the top. But like, you know, Frank Harris is still like a pretty elite quarterback, even compared to the guys that go in round 7 to 10. So I understand people who want to grab him here. You went Will Shipley.
I was hoping Harris would fall to me, but he didn't. So I just went with kind of that next tier running back right there.
I'm surprised, Tommy. There's a pretty elite quarterback still on the board here and everything. I was kind of surprised he didn't go that direction either. We'll see when we'll talk about it a little bit more when he gets taken off the board here.
I know.
Austin Smith says, in my opinion, Josiah Miamin is slept on as a tight end. We're gonna look up who Josiah Miamin is. Maybe he. Oh, as the FIU tight end. Yeah, I'll be real with you. Austin. I have not done a ton of research into FIU. If you guys want to, you can go check out our CFF guide where we got breakdowns on all 133 teams out there. And I'm sure there's probably a blurb in there about Mr. Josiah Miamin and that I personally have not been able to read yet. So, Tommy, have you done...
Isn't that where Fairweather came from?
Yeah, that's where Rivaldo Fairweather came from as well. Yeah. Again, I have no clue how good FIU is going to be as a team, so I haven't really invested a lot in terms of doing a ton of research into them so far. But Austin, I promise you that Miamin has not been drafted in any of these so far. And so you can basically name your price on him and get him for free. Okay, so Bo Nix comes off at 2.6. I was so surprised that nobody was really taking a shot on him until Corey took him there. Tommy, why did you pass on Bo Nix there? You went for Shipley instead.
Yeah, I just think there's more value at quarterbacks than what there is at running back. There's probably really only another handful or so of running backs who are on that kind of high end elite, borderline elite type of player, where at quarterback you probably have another 10 to 15 guys who at any point in time during a best ball are gonna kill it for you.
Mm-hmm. All right, the second elite tight end comes off the board there with Aronde Gadsden. I imagine it's going to be a couple of rounds before we see another tight end come off the board here. Trying to think that Blake Corum comes off at 211. That's a great pick right there.
Yeah. I was between Shipley and Corum there.
I was considering Corum back at the 1-2 turn. Again, I don't typically go running back heavy, at least because again I typically nail running back in these next couple of rounds here. Taylor, I don't know if you're listening, buddy, but Brad Roberts is not in college football anymore.
Yep.
Let me go ahead and tag him in the chat.
I hope he wasn't on auto there.
No, he was not. He wasn't on auto. Brad Roberts is one of those guys that I don't think a lot of people who haven't been paying attention throughout the offseason know isn't back in college, and he's still in the system. So I'm gonna tag Taylor and let him know hey, who do you want to replace him with?
Sure.
But he's also about the timeout on his other pick. And he takes Zachary Franklin, who is now at Ole Miss. So now we are at Ryan.
Franklin is kind of a polarizing guy here this year. He was big time when he was at
I'm out
San Antonio, and then now, now being in a high, leverage spot there, I just don't know if he's got that type of juice to him.
No, he doesn't. And to me, he hasn't fallen enough in drafts so far. Like, I've seen him still go off, and he just came off in the 3rd round here. I've seen him go off in the 5th, 6th round. That's kind of where he's averaging out about there. I still don't like that value right there. I'd rather wait until the teens to take the shot on him, because Ole Miss with Charlie Weiss as their offensive coordinator, you can think Lane Kiffin all day, but Charlie Weiss is the offensive coordinator. Wide receiver ones under Charlie Weiss just have not been very productive in the past. They tend to spread it around quite a bit. I mean, just look at how many receivers that Ole Miss were dragging out of the transfer portal this offseason. They clearly want to have multiple guys to throw it to. So, Tom, your pick's coming up here. What are you kind of hoping for here?
There's one guy in particular I'm hoping for, and I think you probably know who it is. And he fell to me. I love it.
All right, let's see what you got, man.
Going with my guy here.
Hey, Joe Milton.
Yeah,
very nice.
Had to grab him. I didn't think he was going to come back to me there in the middle of the 4th, so I wanted to go ahead and grab him while he was there.
All righty. I think I am looking at probably going to grab myself a running back and a wide receiver. It kind of depends on who falls to me here. Goose is on the clock. Austin says in the chat, speaking of Brad Roberts, John Lee Elridge is about to have a breakout season. Honestly, Austin, I agree with you. I don't think he's going to reach the levels that Brad Roberts got last year, because quite frankly, those levels were just absolutely ridiculous last season. But at the same time, Air Force has been sneakily really good at producing just viable CFF running backs year after year. And by all intents and purposes, it looks like, he's the next guy up there. Tommy, do you have any strong thoughts on Eldridge?
Well, that is like you said, that Air Force offense puts together, they run the ball so much, and they generally have a bell cow running back. Over the last couple of years, like you said, it's been Brad Roberts. Now it looks like it'll be Eldridge's turn. So, I mean, he's definitely well worth the pick.
All right, Shane's taking his sweet time to make his picks. Xavier Worthy there in the 3rd round. What do you think of the other UT, Tommy? How do you kind of break down their offense over there at Texas? Do you think Worthy's worth it here in the 3rd round, or do you think that him and Quinn Ewers are going to continue to have some struggles, or?
I think Worthy may be a little bit of a reach here in the 3rd. I'd probably tend more 5th or 6th round for him. I do think Worthy's going to have a bounce back year. I mean, if you remember last year, he was playing a lot of the season with a broken hand. So that
supposedly.
Right. But I mean, if that is true, then if that's true, then that definitely explains the drops he had.
If that's true, that you're right. But also, again, I don't know if whenever stories come out about that, where there's oh yeah, this guy, by the way, was playing with an injury the whole time. Trust me, I'm fully aware. I hear stories at Georgia and everything. Guys try to play through stuff all the time. But at the same time, you're telling me that you just didn't happen to not mention that until halfway through the offseason. Right. It definitely kind of feels like we're kind of pulling your leg a little bit here. I love my 2 picks I just grabbed here. I've been wanting to grab a Jamari Thrash share, mostly because, again, that's your Jeff Brom wide receiver 1 right there. All indications from the camp. I was a little skeptical at first because, again, it's a G5 to P5 guy, but all indications are that he is clearly the number 1 wide receiver for the Louisville Cardinals this year. Jeff Brom, just think guys like Charlie Jones, David Bell, Rondale Moore, these are guys you want in CFF. I'll happily take that with my 3rd pick. And then I took Kavorian Barnes because I love that UTSA offense there, and he was the last one pretty much of it. Well, not the last one because there's still a wide receiver still on the board, but I needed a running back, and Kavorian Barnes was a great value to grab in the 4th round. Tommy, you are on the clock, sir. What are you thinking, man?
Stack them up here.
Stack them up. Got both your Tennessee boys.
Yep.
All righty. So you are bought in on Mark, because I love Score White. I love how fast he is. I love the fact that he is the one wide receiver that Joe Milton cannot outthrow. I'm not entirely convinced that there's going to be a Jalen Hyatt or even Cedric Tillman 2 years ago, clear number 1 guy for this offense. I think it could be.
They have 4 great ones, so I mean, it's.
I would say
4 great options.
That's my thing. Is I think it's going to be one of the, especially like best ball. Fine, I get score white there, but like in redraft, I'm probably going to not fade to those guys too much, but like I'm going to like kind of probably go a different direction. Because I don't know if it's going to be score white every week. It's probably going to be a Ramel Keaton week 1 week, or a Brew McCoy week 1 week, score white the next, and stuff like that. Back to Brew McCoy. Dante Thornton, exactly. So like they got 4 great options there. They're probably all 4 are going to be on the field at the same time constantly.
Mm-hmm. They, I think they will run more 4 wide receiver sets this year. I don't think that they will run exclusive 4 wide receivers. They're still going to run their 2 tight end sets quite a bit because that's just what Heupel does.
Mm-hmm.
But I do see all 4 of those. Usually, what Heupel does is he has 3 receivers that he just sticks out on the field at all times, just because they don't ever come off the field because they're always running at such a breakneck pace.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to sub. But I think this year you're probably going to see you're probably going to see a 4th receiver out there quite a bit, whether it's alternating possessions or even 4 wide receiver sets at times.
Mm-hmm. No, I wouldn't be shocked by that at all. Ethan, great pick there with Jace McClellan. I was kind of hoping he might continue to sneak under the radar there. TreVeyon Henderson comes off here in the 4th round. Tommy, what are you thinking about the Ohio State running back room? Because I've had a lot of people who are still bought into TreVeyon, think that he's still going to break out again this year now that he's back to being healthy. I've heard from other people, including myself, that like it's going to be kind of difficult to project what that running back room looks like. Because if Mayan Williams went off to the draft last year, which in my opinion he probably should have because he looked really good down the stretch,
right,
I'd totally be bought back into TreVeyon Henderson this year, even with Dallin Hayden, Evan Pryor back there, and Chip Trayanum. But they got 5 good options at running back there. There's no way, especially with Henderson wanting to go to the draft, there's no way that like they're going to give him a workhorse load like we want to see. Now, granted, he's explosive, so maybe that doesn't matter, but what do you think?
I think you're probably looking at a 900 plus yard season out of him.
Okay, wow.
Last year he only had just over 500, but a lot of that was because of injury. As long as he stays healthy, he'll get 900 plus yards.
Combined, like with the rushing and the receiving, right? Or just rushing?
No, rushing.
Oh,
rushing.
Shoot.
Yeah. They didn't throw it to him a lot last year.
They did not.
I think he only had like 4 catches.
Yeah, but the year before he had a ton of catches as well. So maybe if he's healthy, they get it to the ball to him that way a little bit more. But like, I don't know, I just don't see it.
Even Mayan didn't have a lot of receptions last year either. Whenever he was playing, so they just didn't throw the ball to their running backs a whole lot. So I kind of think he'll have 900 plus rushing, and mine will probably have in that 500 to 600 range again.
See, I wish I was as confident in that as you were and everything. Because again, like it's not just Mayan though. It's like again they got Dallin Hayden who looked really good. Chip Trayanum's moved back to running back. If I saw something that said like Trayanum's moving back to linebacker because they feel good about their guys again, I might buy into it. But again, he's sticking at running back. And then again, Evan Pryor is a guy that everybody's completely forgot. I wish he transferred out during the spring, but they somehow kept him around. So.
Well, also I think that offense is gonna fall back into kind of a run more than what they did last year type of offense. Kyle McCord is not I'm blanking. What's his name?
CJ Stroud?
Yeah, CJ Stroud. He's not CJ Stroud, so I just don't see them slinging the ball the way they did last year.
Speaking of slinging it, what kind of pick are you slinging here, Tom?
I am going with a guy that had transferred in the offseason, and now he's transferring back to his old school.
Okay.
I'm going with Tyron Smith.
All righty. So Tyron Smith finished as the wide receiver 41 last year at UTEP. You just drafted him. I'm not going to try to count how many wide receivers have come off the board. Damn it, Shane. I'm not even trying to count how many wide receivers have come off the board here. But what makes you think that he's going to finish higher than that?
Well, I think there was a reason why A&M wanted him, and I think going back to UTEP, he's going to he's obviously familiar with that offense, and they want to bring him back in for a reason because he is what they need. Obviously, him with Cowing 2 years ago, they were both pretty good. Cowing then transferred out, and then Tyron Smith kind of blew up a little bit last year. I think this will just be a bigger year for him.
Mm-hmm. Man, I got brutalized on the running back run right there. Estime, Hammond, and Davis are all three guys that I was looking at here. Do I reach up a little bit?
And also, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Tyron Smith have a little bit of an injury issue last year?
Yes, sir, he did.
Yeah, so I mean that also accounts for that.
All right, I'm probably going to go ahead and take another running back here. Let's go CJ Donaldson. Hope he's healthy. And then do I want to, you know what? I am pretty good at wide receiver so far. So I think, let me look at the quarterback situation. Nope, they're looking pretty good there too. Good Lord. So many good options, but nobody that's really sticking out to me is like, oh, I must have this guy. So, you should be in my queue as well. Screw it. I'm going to keep loading up a running back. Give me Jermaine Brown Jr.
Ooh, good.
Screw it. Screw it. I know I technically reached on him because his ADP goes later and everything, but like he's the top running back still on the board.
Yeah.
I struggle to find value of running back later, so like I'm going to go ahead and reach up for him and grab my guy. I'm a big believer in Jermaine Brown this year.
He's your RB3 right now. That's not bad.
Not bad. And I'll see what kind of falls to me here in the next turn and everything like that. Again, the unfortunate thing about being on the turn is that there's no, I'm going to sit here and see like if a guy falls back to me. I just got to take things as they come. And unfortunately, I kind of had the opposite problem that I usually do where a lot of it has been so far this draft that like a lot of guys I like are there at the turn. And I'm like, okay, I can only pick two of these guys. And then I'm like, okay, maybe some of them will come back to me. Nope, every single one of them are gone. I'm in the new tier, and then I like too many guys again. It is a rich person's problem to have. All right, you take Marquise Irving here, Tommy. Yeah. Sell us on this man. What are you thinking here?
He had over 1,000 yards last year in a very good offense. He also had a ton of catches last year also. You see, I know I have it here. See, last year he had 31 catches. So that's nothing to sneeze at.
Nope, not at all.
In that type of offense. So if I can grab him as my RB3 there, I'm more than happy with that.
So Austin asked in the chat, he says, I don't remember Jermaine Brown from last year. Is he more of a system play and you expect him to have the same production as the RB last year? Yes, but it's not. But it's not just a like, oh, he was a nobody before, but now I expect him to be somebody and everything. Jermaine Brown Jr. had only 70 less carries than Dwayne McBride last year, and while that sounds like a lot, like with how much they ran the ball and everything last year, like Brown had 166 carries last year and tallied up 948 yards in that time and 8 touchdowns. So he's very clearly used to a pretty decent sized workload over there. And then during the bowl game, when Dwayne McBride sat out, they basically turned to Jermaine Brown and said, like, alrighty, let's see how you do in that role. And all he did was go 24 carries, 116 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's a Dwayne McBride stat line if I've ever heard one in my life. And even the game before that, when they were facing Louisiana Tech, a very similar stat line. 22 carries, 119 yards, 2 touchdowns. Boom, bada bing. Again, he's probably not going to finish RB4 like Dwayne McBride did, but I don't need him to. I just need him to be a consistent guy for me week in and week out, and I think he will be, even with the change at head coach.
Yeah, he has better upside as a pass catcher than what Dwayne McBride did also.
Oh, 100%. Again, the big difference between McBride and Brown is that Brown is just a smaller guy. I think he's less than 200 pounds. So there's a little bit more concern that they can't quite give him the workload that they gave Dwayne McBride. But even so, he is by far the most veteran running back in that room. He's kind of earned the place that he's at. So I'm very confident grabbing him in the 6th round. I know there's other guys on my team here at Campus Canton that disagree with me, but it's my team, not theirs. So I'm going with my guy.
I tell you what, I am loving Kane's team right now, though.
Oh, Kane's doing a great job here and everything like that. Again, Nicholas Singleton, like, I don't love him in like trying to guess on a week-to-week basis which weeks he'll go off, because I do believe Kayshawn Allen is legit. But like, grabbing him as your second running back in a best ball format, I'll take that. That's fine. Donovan Edwards, same thing. Explosive as hell. You don't need him to go off every single week. You just need him on your team for the weeks that he does. Trying to think what else. All right, we got some quarterbacks coming off the board here. Some pretty big ones in terms of best ball. Again, there's Tyler Shuck. We talked about him earlier. Javon Cordero here in the 6th round. John Rice Plumlee. John Rice Plumlee is one of those guys that when you go redraft versus best ball, Plumlee does shoot up my rankings quite a bit. Because again, I don't like him in redraft because you never know, and I mean truly never know, when he's going to have an absolute stinker of a game or when he is going to have an absolute, he's going to absolutely go off. Because last year, he goes up against Temple. Temple's one of the worst teams in the country, and that offense couldn't get past the 50-yard line for some reason. I have no clue what was going on there. Everybody started Plumlee that week, and we ended up with 8 points. It was the absolute worst. So but here in best ball, you don't need to guess that. It's absolutely beautiful. Alrighty, some more wide receivers coming off the board. Some guys that I like here. Again, Jordan Curley, great pick there in the 7th round. DT Sheffield, I'm very high out of Washington State. Tommy, any picks here that really stand out to you as ones that you absolutely love?
I've always been a big fan of Cam Ward, so I think grabbing him there in the 7th is a pretty solid pick. DT Sheffield right after him, and then Devin Neal going right there is great there in the 7th round.
I'm a little concerned with Neal this year, mostly to do with the fact that when Highshaw was healthy, they were kind of splitting that backfield relatively evenly. It wasn't until Highshaw went down that Neal kind of took over that workload. Well, Highshaw's back. They also bring in Dylan McDuffie, who played with Lance Leopold over there at Buffalo. So you got another guy who's kind of familiar with the system. Jalen Daniels could vulture any touchdown possible for Devin Neal. So, but again, that's Luke's second running back there. Again, maybe I would have probably gone with a little bit safer pick, especially with Frank Gore being a very boomer bust guy week in and week out. But again, hey, it's best ball. All you need for them is just to go off the right weeks and you're good to go. All right, here before your pick, what position are you looking at here, Tommy?
I'm probably going to go back wide receiver here, unless the wide receiver I'm looking at comes off the board, then I may go back running back.
I got 5 wide receivers and that I'm kind of looking at here. I'm probably going to do, usually I double tap a certain position around this round, but again, the wide receiver value is pretty good right now. So unless all these guys come off the board here, I'm probably going to split wide receiver in another position here. So there goes Luther Burden. So that was one of the wide receivers I was definitely looking at. But what about you, Tommy? What are you looking at here?
I'm looking at a transfer wide receiver. He's going into a pretty high octane offense. I think he's in for a huge year, and he's actually one of my NFL draft sleepers for next year. So I'm going to go with Keon Coleman.
Ooh, so sell me, Tommy, because I don't have Keon nearly this high, because I struggle to see what the value of a Florida State wide receiver 1 is going to look like. Mm-hmm. And I was kind of willing to buy into Johnny Wilson because he was kind of the only real wide receiver that they had there. But now they do have Keon Coleman there, and I think they're just going to eat into each other too much. So what makes you think Coleman's going to stand out enough to be the third wide receiver on your fantasy team?
He's so much faster than what Johnny Wilson is. Johnny Wilson's a big jump ball guy. You can throw it up to him, but Keon Coleman's a burner. He's gonna fly past everybody. I'm not saying Jalen Hyatt type of speed, but he's got, he's up there.
Absolutely. I can kind of see it. Again, I'm just a little skeptical on, like, again, they have a lot of really good passing weapons around there, again, because outside of the 2 wide receivers, Trey Benson is a weapon in his own right. You have Jaheim Bell there now as well. They brought in the tight end from what is it, Shorter University, Kyle Morlock. It's pretty darn good. So, it's my pick. I'm going to go with one of the wide receivers I was looking at. Give me my boy Caleb Hood there at Georgia Southern. His counterpart came off in the 5th round, but man, Caleb Hood outproduced him by 20 receptions last year and by 200 yards. Now, granted, he stayed a little bit healthier. The only thing is that Hood just didn't get the touchdowns. I think that changes this year. I think a little bit of touchdown equity comes his way. And I'm going to grab my first quarterback off the board here. Let's go with the guy that averaged, when he played a full game, 29.6 fantasy points per game last year. Hopefully he can keep that health going right there. But DeQuan Finn is my first quarterback here in the 8th round. I will take that all day long.
Get you some action going.
Get me some action going. I feel really good about it. Again, I'm feeling pretty good about this team so far. Again, the running backs have come off the board just a little bit quicker than I was kind of hoping here. But a name I'm seeing in my queue here that I'm not going to take anytime soon. Or actually, maybe I'll buy the dip. I'm not sure here, but Tommy, what do you think about LaQuint Allen? What do you think about that whole situation right now?
Ooh, I mean, he's got to get let back in school first. I mean, it's kind of tough to take a guy who has a high likelihood of not playing at all.
See, that's my kind of thing. It's like, so for you, he's a total avoid until they get that situation resolved and everything like that.
Maybe late in the draft.
But like, I've done a little bit of digging on that situation and everything, and I'm no lawyer or anything like that, but like, I think it's a pretty decent chance that he wins this case. Because they didn't punish him until after things had gotten resolved and everything like that. So, because again, like, he was a John Doe in the court and everything like that, and then the university found out and they punished him for the year and everything. And like, I think he's going to win that battle in terms of them punishing him way too harshly for a situation that has just, to this point, been very quietly handled. So maybe I'll buy the dip. Maybe if it comes back to me, I might consider it.
And you may have talked somebody. You may have talked somebody into taking him.
Oh, probably. But then they can take that risk, not me. Maybe
that was your plan all along.
That was my plan all along. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm about to fix this in ADP later, but we're going to fix this. We are going to fix this Brad Roberts pick real quick. Taylor has told me that he wishes to take RJ Harvey, running back out of UCF.
Okay.
So, good. If it was here in the 8th round, I would say good pick.
Yeah, I mean, well, we are here in the 8th round now.
That's what I'm saying. Like if he were to make that pick here, I think that would have been a good pick, because that's pretty much what he did. He's picking amongst the players that are available here in the 8th round.
Yeah.
So lots of quarterbacks coming off the board here. Again, I think a lot of people have kind of taken to heart my musings about waiting for quarterback until this late. So you got some good guys coming off the board there, like Michael Pratt and Curtis Rourke. Who did you take? Oh, you took Michael Pratt. Tell me.
Yeah.
Talk to us about Michael Pratt, dude.
I was going to take Klubnik there, and I got sniped, so I went with the next quarterback I had on my board, which was Michael Pratt. Great season last year at Tulane. Came back for another one. He is a legit NFL draft prospect. I think he's going to tear it up again this year.
Yeah, and the good thing is that he stayed at Tulane, because there were quite a few schools that were kind of, shall we say, going after him and trying to get him to come to their schools. Namely, I think some of the rumors were Florida especially was kind of really big on him. There's a couple other schools that were kind of involved there. But again, he stays at Tulane. I think that's much better for all of us here on a CFF perspective. Man, there's some good players still on the board here that I am really, really liking. And I'm going to let everybody else continue to take other options, because
it's kind of like you last week talking about Riley Leonard transferring to Auburn. That that would have been terrible for CFF purposes. So
that would have been awesome. That would have been awesome. That would have been awesome. No,
him going to the SEC, he would have gotten killed.
No. Give me Riley Leonard with Hugh Freeze all day long, dude. That would have been absolutely awesome. Hugh Freeze has done.
Stay at Duke playing against trash defenses.
No. Hugh Freeze has done amazing things with far less talented quarterbacks than Riley Leonard in the SEC. Back at his time with Ole Miss and everything like that. Like, he absolutely would have done so well with Riley Leonard at Auburn. That would have been awesome.
They also had better weapons than what Auburn has now.
He's got another year to figure it out. I said in 2024. I didn't say this year. Caleb Burton, I think it could be a really good wide receiver in a year.
Could be.
But that's all any of this is could be.
Yeah, I'd still rather him play at Duke in the ACC with those garbage defenses they have there.
All right, Ryan. Sorry, I just realized
that's much better for CFF purposes.
All right, Ryan just asked in the chat. He said, with the array of beliefs rankings, how do you decide which info set to run with? Obviously, Ryan says, obviously, whatever C2C says. I make my own ranking, so I guess that's kind of the answer to that question. I think I'm a little confused by the question you're trying to ask here, Ryan. I don't know, Tommy, if you can see what they're saying, what he says in the chat. Maybe you interpret it in a different way than I do.
What was he asking about whose rankings to follow?
He just says, with the wide array with, quote, beliefs, quote, rankings, how do you really decide which info set to run with? Obviously, whatever C2C says is what he finishes with, but like, I don't know. I guess I'm confused on your question, Ryan. Crispy also says, who are they? Crispy, who are you referring to? I guess is my question for you is, who are you referring to?
I would kind of say as far as the rankings, I mean, you look at the rankings obviously, but you also kind of formulate your own opinion about who you're wanting to take. You look at what type of offense they're in, what type of what type of coaching system that they have around them. There's your LeJohntay Webster.
I would say I was going to take him here in the 9th round if nobody else took him. That's a great pick.
Yeah, that is a good pick there. I'm going to go with Katron Allen since he's still sitting there.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Again, in a best ball format, absolutely. In terms of like how, I guess the question I'll answer is like, how do I, as somebody who makes my own rankings, use other people's rankings? And it really is like, sometimes you just go into other people's rankings and you do kind of look for like, all right, where are the major differences here? If there's a guy that like Eric Froton has, like way higher than I do, a lot of times, again, I respect Froton. So like, I will kind of sit back and be like, all right, is there something I'm missing here? Is there a nugget or something like that? And I've DM'd guys before and be like, hey, like, I see you have this guy ranked really highly. Like, and I do kind of the same thing here with you, Tommy, and everything. Like, you took Keon Coleman and like guys that I probably wouldn't have drafted until later. But I ask you, I'm like, what are you seeing that maybe I'm not? Because again, that's the way I learn. Like, I can do all the research I want all day long, but it's 133 teams. I can only do so much research. There's bound to be something that I missed.
Sure.
So, alrighty, let's go ahead and grab my 2 picks here. Lots of great players at a certain position, but I'm going to take one guy at the wide receiver position. That's kind of the last in my tier. I've taken a lot of this guy, but Justin Lockhart there at San Jose State. And a lot of great quarterbacks here, but I'm going to take my boy Jalen Daniels as my second quarterback here off the board. Two dual threat guys that play in conferences that don't play a lot of defense. I love it. Tommy, what was your question you're about to ask?
Oh, I was going to say, it also helps whenever we know guys who are in the industry, and we can kind of bounce ideas off of each other. Also, it's like you said, DMing back and forth, talking to them, kind of seeing where they're coming from. It's like you said, it kind of helps you learn. It also kind of helps with how some of these guys are perceived also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. And like, damn it, Shane's killing me tonight, man. Because like every time, like I think like Voisin I was looking at, Eldridge I was looking at, Hammond I was looking at, Johnson he took earlier than I was anticipating him to come off the board. Like Shane, you I don't know if you're listening right now, buddy, but you're doing a really good job. J Mill in the chat says that Jared is now grabbing Hood in 90% of drafts. I have drafted a lot of Hood. Again, it just makes too much sense to me. If he's going to be there in the 7th round as he's my 3rd wide receiver, I'll take that every single time. I absolutely love that Georgia Southern system over there. Tommy, you're back on the clock though. What are you thinking, man?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with a guy who was the wide receiver 2 in that room last year. But with the guy ahead of him graduating, I know their quarterback situation is a little up in the air. But I'm going to go with Reggie Brown here.
Okay. So is this just you think he's the best one? Because
it's just a system play right here.
Okay. Because again, like I like Reggie Brown. My problem is I don't know if Chris Thornton's production came from the fact that he played in the slot for that team, or did it come from the fact that he was the best wide receiver on the team? That is kind of the age-old question we have a lot of times with who's up next. Because if you think it's just about playing for the guy who is the best wide receiver, Reggie Brown here in the 10th round makes all the sense in the world, but Reggie Brown mostly plays on the outside. So if you do believe that system mostly targets the slot, unless Reggie Brown moves to the slot, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense there. So maybe you target somebody else later, like an Elijah Surratt or Omari and Dollison, guys like that.
Well, Brown did have a good season last year coming from the outside. So I mean, it's not like him coming out of nowhere. I just think it's kind of a talent over position there.
Oh, absolutely. Dang, Luke, that is a great stack right there between Ashton Jeanty and George Helani. That is absolutely beautiful. Let me hear
was 9-6 right here. I see that it's Spencer Sanders, but was that supposed to be Shador Sanders or is Spencer Sanders the actual pick right
That is a question I think John Lobb is listening right now. I will ask him, Johnny boy, if you can hear me, was that supposed to be Shador Sanders or is that actually Spencer Sanders? Actually, you know what? I'll tag him in the chat as well. See if he's listening there.
Because if that was supposed to be Spencer Sanders, and that's a little bit of a head scratcher.
Yeah, because there's not really a lot of information about who's going to win that job over there. We're coming over here at the end of the 10th round. By the way, if you are listening and you have not hit that like button, I would really appreciate you if you took 2 seconds to just go over there, click on your little mouse, and go and click that little thumbs up. That would be absolutely fantastic. When you click on that, that helps us get in front of people who want to listen to this kind of content, whether they are college football fans, whether they're fantasy fans in general. This helps the YouTube algorithm let people know and say, hey, other people who like the stuff that I like should be listening to this as well. So please help us out there. I saw at least 1 like come up just now, so y'all keep it going over there. Let's see what else we got going on the board here. A couple wide receivers coming off the board here. This is why I'm kind of glad I kind of loaded up on my top wide receivers because a lot of the good ones are really starting to come off here.
Yeah. Ethan has kind of quietly put together a very solid last 4 rounds.
I don't know if Odu Hilaire is somebody I would have grabbed here in the 9th round because I don't think I've seen him go that high. So even if you're pretty high on him, it feels like you probably could have waited a couple of rounds. I understand why. Again, it's Maction. Odu Hilaire is one of the better wide receivers in, like, definitely probably the best offensive player that Bowling Green has. But I don't know. I feel like if you were just trying to play the ADP game, you probably could have waited just a little bit longer. But maybe Ethan doesn't play the ADP game like I do. Oh, thank you, John Lobb. Let me go ahead and fix that for you, buddy, because you drafted the wrong S. Sanders.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to get that cleared up, before somebody took Shador there, and
I appreciate you thinking of that because I saw him take Spencer Sanders. I'm like, I'm gonna have to DM Lob later and be like, I'm like, man, you hearing something about Spencer Sanders that I'm not? But no, that makes a whole lot of sense. Shador Sanders there in the 9th round makes a lot of sense. So, got more guys coming off the board here. How do you feel about your team overall right now, Tommy? Is there any positions you kind of feel like you're lacking at a little bit?
I think I'm lacking a little bit at wide receiver. But again, there's still with it being a best ball, there's still so many other wide receivers out there who could have big week to weeks that I'm not too terribly worried about it. I do like my running backs. I think I got 4 pretty solid running backs so far.
Alrighty, yeah, we got pretty good running backs here. I think it's your pick here next. So you're gonna grab another wide receiver to try to shore it up a little bit, or are you gonna go a different position?
I probably am going to go with another wide receiver here. Let me see what I got. I'm going to go. I think it's time for me to go and pick him. I'm going Dante Thornton.
All right, grabbing another Tennessee guy. You're gonna just have the whole Tennessee offense on you.
Well, it's like you said with it being best ball. Sometimes you just don't know who that number one wide receiver is going to be week to week, especially on these high octane offenses who like to spread it around the way Tennessee does. One week it could be Squirrel, the next it could be Dante Thornton, it could be Brew McCoy, Ramel Keaton. You just never know with that offense. So I kind of want to shore it up a little bit.
Alrighty, got a good Lord. I'm trying to figure out which direction I want to go here with. I think I'm definitely going to grab a couple of quarterbacks still on the board here that I feel pretty darn good about. I'm kind of surprised. Wait, it's 11th round and this guy's still on the board. Well, I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of that. I think even if I am skeptical that he might not make it through the entire season, I'm still going to go ahead and draft him here as my third quarterback in case he does. Like, this is a guy that I've drafted on other teams as my number one quarterback. I kind of passed up on him this time thinking that somebody else might take it. So let's see. Oh, Mike Bainbridge in the chat. This is going to be a good one for you, Harvey, after I make my picks here. Actually, I'll make my picks and you answer this question, Tommy. Mike Bainbridge is in the chat and says, do you stack Joe Milton with Nico in a best ball league?
Very, very late. If you're going to take Nico, it's got to be 29th, 30th round. I mean, it's Joe Milton's job. The only way he loses it is if they start off, 2-4, which is just not going to happen.
Alrighty, got a couple of guys here on the board that I kind of like.
But Joe Milton has so much natural talent. He may not have a Hendon Hooker year, but in that offense, it's going to be pretty close.
All right, I didn't think I was going to go tight end here, but I was kind of I didn't really love the running backs or wide receivers right now, so I kind of looked at tight end, saw Conyers just kind of sitting there, and I said, like, yeah, you know what? Like, I got Bowers. What if I grab another guy that I have in my top 10 tight ends? Mike, to answer your question, I'm fully on board with the idea of stacking Milton and Nico in a best ball, but I agree with Tommy that no reason to really reach up and grab Nico in a best ball league. Now, again, like Tommy, you drafted Joe Milton in the third round. ADP wise, Milton has been kind of going in the 4th, 5th round and everything. So to me, if you are going to draft him that early, it kind of signals that you are going to invest a lot of capital into him. And it makes a lot of sense for me, in my opinion, to grab a guy like Nico later on in your draft. So we'll see if you get that opportunity here, Tommy. I'm sure somebody's going to want to snipe you on him. You're on the clock here. You take Mitch Griffiths. That's a great pick. I was considering taking him over Dylan Gabriel at my pick.
Yeah, I was hoping he would make it back to me. I knew you were probably looking at him. So
I was looking at him.
You were gonna take him, but I'm glad he made it back to me.
No, that is a great pick here. Austin Smith says, or that's actually a combination of J Mill's comment and Austin Smith's comment. J Mill says, the Armstrong ADP still shocks me. Could it be the lack of faith in his wide receivers? And then Austin Smith comes in and says, same, after hearing such praise for Devin Leary last season, what changes between him and Armstrong now? I'll be real with you guys. I don't know. I was set to take Brendan Armstrong here in the 11th round because, again, like, I've seen him fall to this range, and I'm starting to get a bit more aggressive drafting him here because, again, it's getting a little too ridiculous. He's back with Robert Anae. Robert Anae made him into an absolute fantasy darling. Again, could it be his wide receivers? Maybe because, like, again, you have DJ Collins from Clemson there. You got Porter Rooks, who a couple people kind of like, but then they got two freshman wide receivers in Juice Vereen and Kevin Concepcion there. They're kind of stepping up. I think they're going to be okay out wide for the most part over there. Maybe it gets a little bit to get going, but like they're the 11th round. Ethan made a fantastic pick. What do you think, Tommy?
Oh, I think Brennan Armstrong is a great pick there. They're in the 11th. I kind of would expect him to go in that 8th or 9th round range, to be honest with you. Going back into that Robert Anae offense, I just think he was great at Virginia 2 years ago, and then all of a sudden fell off last year, but now goes back in that kind of in that same system. I think he's got some good receivers there. I think DJ Collins is in for a big year. Matter of fact, he's a guy I'm kind of targeting later on in the draft myself.
Also, my apologies, John. I know you're listening now. I just saw the chat. For some reason, my phone was not giving me updates from updates from our Twitter chat. Yeah, Carson Steele off the board there. Yeah. You know what? I'm curious. I wonder if Ryan's going to take TJ Harden here.
Carson Steele falling to the 12th is quite a big drop from where he was going earlier on in the year.
Oh, 100%.
I've been in best balls where he's gone second, third round, which I've always thought was way too high for him. But they're in the 12th round is probably pretty good value.
Yeah, like if you really think that that Chip Kelly and like all the beat reporters are lying to us, and Carson Steele really has been the number one guy at UCLA camps the last couple of weeks, and like yeah, absolutely, this is a great place to take him. You're buying the dip on him. He did not. Interesting. I wonder if Ethan takes him. I should shut up. I should really shut up about a certain player. He's good as gone. I said his name too many times.
Yes, you did. It's like saying Beetlejuice 3 times.
Exactly. It just automatically means they're coming off the board here soon. But yeah, no, Carson Steele, like again, like ADP last month, he was running back 25. Again, I'm not going to count how many running backs have come off the board here, but again, let's see, end of 12th round, that puts him in like what was that, 143? So that would have put him as the running back in last month's ADP. That would have put him as the RB 50. So even from last month to this draft, he has dropped 25 running back spots. So if you are a believer in Carson Steele, like you got to buy him right now. The deals are there. But I personally am not going to buy into him because I like somebody else. Darren Granger, that's a great pick by Ethan right there. Darren Granger was the QB 19 last season, and he is sitting here in the 13th round. I do not understand that whatsoever. He's got the same coaching staff over there. Yes, he loses Jamari Thrash, but like Georgia State's got some pretty good wide receivers there. They got Robert Lewis. I know our own Chris Moxley is very big on. I kind of like the JUCO transfer they brought in, Carter. Like they got some pretty good options there. Their run game's going to be absolutely crazy this year, and both of those backs are pretty decent catching the ball. So I think Darren Granger's in for another huge year, and he's a great pick in the 13th round.
Here you go. Question for you. Would you rather have Granger there at Georgia State or Davis Brin at Georgia Southern?
Where do I have those two ranked in my rankings? They're
both off the board now. So.
Yeah, I know they're both off the board. I have Granger as my QB 22 and Davis Brin as my QB 26. They are both in that exact. Yep, there you go. I knew TJ Harden was coming off here. At least now we're at the point where TJ Harden and Carson Steele are coming off in the same round. At least that kind of makes sense now. But what was I saying?
I don't have a tight end yet, and I don't really want to reach for one, but at the same time, it's like
there's a couple good options here. I don't think, again, you're in the 13th round, but like you're in the 13th round. There's not really a ton of reaching for tight ends here. You can find some value.
I just almost feel as if there's more value elsewhere, but I don't have one yet, so I'm going to go and take them.
All righty. I'm not personally a big Caden Priest-Gordon fan. Maybe that's because I'm just stuck on my Michael Trigg days, but sell me on him, Tommy. What do you love so much about Priest-Gordon?
He was great at Memphis.
He was.
And they brought him in for a reason. Trigg obviously had issues last year, whether it be, he had injury issues. I think he had some personal problems also. Pre-scoring, I just think is going to be, that kind of steady Eddie type of guy there.
Alrighty, let's see what happens here. Alrighty, I'm gonna do it. I'm buying the dip.
Oh, yep, there you go.
I'm buying the dip. And you know what? If Allen ain't there, Schrader's about to get even more rushing production.
Yeah.
This is about to be either the best 2 picks I've made in this draft or the absolute worst 2 picks that I've made in this draft. There is going to be no in between on those 2 right there.
Well, the good thing is you made them right in the middle of the draft. So
again, I would say, like, if my 13th and 14th round picks don't work out here, I'm shooting for the upside here, man.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong at all. Again, I'm going to go ahead and load up my queue here. What are you kind of looking at, Tommy? Also, your cat. The people watching online can't see it, but I can see in the Zoom that we're on. You have an adorable orange and white cat. What is their name?
His name's Gambit.
Gambit, I love it.
Yeah, Gambit is my favorite. My favorite Marvel character.
Oh, hell yeah!
My favorite X-Men. So I named him after him, and actually I named my dog after him also. Her name is Remy.
Remy.
His human name is Remy LeBeau.
Yeah, you're right. So I love it.
So I named her Remy after him.
Oh, he is an absolute cutie. What kind of personality does he have?
He's very loving, very needy.
Oh.
He loves to be around you. But he spends most of his time upstairs whenever the dogs are down here, just because he's scared to death of them. But let's see, I'm going to go with Elijah Spencer right here. I think he's in for a big year at Minnesota.
I've been hearing a lot of good stuff from him over there at Minnesota. We all know that Minnesota wants to pass more this year. Again, they lose Will Ibrahim, so they don't really trust any of their running backs right now to take on that workload. Tylan Hines, great pick there, Corey. They don't really trust any of their guys right now. If they're going to run the ball a ton, it's going to be by committee. But their stated goal is that they do want to pass more. They kind of want to modernize that offense. I have no clue if Calais McManus, their quarterback, is going to be able to let them do that, because he hasn't looked very good the last couple of years. But if he can, I do think Elijah Spencer is that dude that could step up. Now, why him, Tommy, and not Chris Ottman-Bell? Oh, he's a great freaking pick.
Yep. Both him and Kane lately have been really solid with their picks. I like that Colby Young pick. But Spencer over Ottman-Bell and Corey Crooms, just because of the way he looked during the spring. Spencer was the guy back during the spring, and I just think that's going to translate.
All right, hold up. I'm going to answer a question here real quick. Anybody got questions in the chat here? Luke says that that I have completely turned him off on Carson Steele on Jason Natty. I have talked a lot about Carson Steele, haven't I? Thankfully, tomorrow's episode, you don't get to hear me talk about Carson Steele or TJ Harden at all, so you get a break from that for at least 1 week there. David Martin Robinson is a great pick there by Taylor in the 14th round. Again, Chris Moxley did an incredible article on him the other day, and basically talked about, like, he's probably one of the better bets as like a later tight end option that you can get right now, just because the sheer he had 10 plus target in 2 out of his last 3 games when Temple's offense really kind of hit its stride right there near the end of the season. So that could be an excellent pick there in the 14th round.
He followed it up in the 15th with Malik Benson, who's another solid pick right here in the middle of the draft.
All right, give me 1 second, Tommy. I'm going to answer a message from one of the people in the draft.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find a certain player that somebody is asking me about. Is a certain player not here? Oops, spelled his name wrong. Is this player just straight up not in the draft anymore? He is not. All right, Corey, I know you're listening. You sent me that message. Go ahead and draft yourself a placeholder there and send me a message reminding me that that is who the placeholder is for. Let's see who's coming off the board here. Chandler Morris is a great QB pick here in the 15th round. Like, again, there's a lot of great QBs coming off here around here. Tommy, what do you think about Tyler Van Dyke? Do you buy that? Do you buy that Mario Cristobal is actually going to let Shane Dawson, who was the former offensive coordinator at Houston, run that offense over there, or do you think that's all smoke and mirrors?
I think it's a safe pick right here because he picked Colby Young in the previous round.
Oh yeah,
so
good
I
pick.
I think that pairing them up is pretty safe. I don't have any issue with taking Tyler Van Dyke right there for him.
All right, let's see. There we go. All right. So yank off there, by the way. I shouldn't say that. This is a family-friendly show. But he is that is a placeholder for J. Michael Sturdivant, who for some reason is not in Fantrax right now.
Is he not still on Cal's roster?
Nope. I've looked him up down here. I've looked him up in our draft up here. He's not available in either one. So don't know what happened there. All right. I'm probably going to
surprised Johnny Wilson lasted this long.
Hey, if one of those guys becomes a CFF wide receiver, you got one of them. Like you got him. That should be a team that scores a ton of points this year. So like, I honestly, that's an excellent pairing for your roster building right there.
Do we not have any Florida State fans in this draft?
Not this one. We've had some drafts before. We had like 3, and they all took them super early.
These guys would have been gone by the 3rd round.
I know, right? Like again, like what was it last year? One of them was drafting like Micah Pittman in like the 3rd round. I was just like, oh no, I can't use this for ADP.
Now, I mean, I am still looking at Micah Pittman, but he's not till late 20s.
All right, I'm gonna grab Ricky White here at UNLV. I think that, again, you'll hear this on tomorrow's episode of CTN. We talk a lot about that UNLV offense over there with Brennan Marion. I think that Ricky White is in for a really, really good year this year. And then I'm going to save you for the next round. And then what do I want to do? Do I want to double dip at wide receiver? Nobody really here that I absolutely love. So do I just triple down on a running back? Yeah, you know what? Screw it. I have not grabbed a ton of shares of this guy, but you know what? I love the Ohio State offense, so let's give me Mayan Williams. I was talking about it earlier, Tommy. Like, Travion Henderson comes off in the 3rd round. I think Mayan Williams is going to be right there with him. Like, they're going to run with both of those guys. I'd much rather take the shot on Mayan Williams in the 16th round than Travion in the 3rd.
Well, also, if Travion misses any time, Mayan Williams is the perfect backup. So.
Absolutely. And, like, again, and Travion, like, Ryan Day pretty much showed last year that even if guys are stars, like, he is not afraid to sit guys for multiple weeks if they, like, bruise their thumb or something like that, because he isn't playing, like, obviously he wants the Big Ten championship, but, like, his eyes are on the playoff. His eyes are on national championship ambition. So he will sit stars on his team if it means that they will be ready by the time they get to the playoff. And it means, shoot, Jackson Smith and Jigba last year pretty much, I think, reinforced this for him because he tried to play Jackson Smith and Jigba and he got re-injured, and then he didn't have Jackson Smith and Jigba the rest of the season. So, yeah, Mayan Williams is like that perfect guy that is like, if Travion were to sit out for a couple of games, I got an amazing pick here in the 16th round, and then 2 of my favorite wide receivers come off the board right afterwards. I was hoping they would make it back to me. That sucks. That makes me mad. All right, let's see. Day says players because OSU is Charmin soft. # go blue. Thank you, Austin. I assumed we have at least one Michigan fan in the chat every single week. And then J Mill, appreciate you concurring on Mayan Williams being a bargain at that spot. Again, 16th round. I've seen. Hold on, let me see. What was his ADP this last month? Mayan Williams, RB 48, 139. So yeah, last month he was going off like 4 or 5 rounds before this, and Goose is taking the same route that I am, but he said, nah, screw Mayan Williams. Dallin Hayden's the guy that's going to step up in that running back room. So interesting pick, Goose. I kind of appreciate the balls on it. You took Donovan Green here, Tommy. You do not have Jamal Banks. Are you just trying to grab a piece of this Wake Forest offense?
Yeah, I've got Mitch Griffiths, so I kind of wanted one of his wide receivers to go along with it, and Donovan Green is a big play wide receiver.
No, I like that.
If you go back and watch that spring game at all, he had some really big downfield plays that I think in a best ball really play well.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean Tyler comes off here in the 16th round. That guy gets lower and lower every time I see him, and somehow I still feel like I still don't want to draft him.
I mean, 5'8", 170 out of a Big Ten running back is tough, man.
Well, he's not 170. He's like 180, 185. So he's a little bit bigger than we give him credit for.
Still not big enough.
Chris B asked, would I have gone Isaiah Williams had he gone Ricky White? I probably would not have, Chris B. I'll be real with you. I like Isaiah Williams, but I think I probably would have gone somewhere else with that pick there. So
I did see where McCray was drafted earlier. What do you think about that Illinois backfield?
I think it's going to be a committee this year. I do trust them when they say that like they didn't want it to be a committee even last year with Chase Brown. And you have Josh McCray, who gets injured a ton. You got Reggie Love, who's a pretty serviceable back. And then you have the absolute behemoth that is known as Caden Fagan coming in this year, who's going to serve.
Monster, man.
He's going to serve his own kind of role in that backfield. So
he is very Braylon Allen-esque.
He is. And like, I honestly, like, I need to probably be more aggressive in these upcoming supplemental drafts I have soon about getting a share of Caden Fagan, because I think that he, out of that room, is the most likely one in the future, probably not this year, but in the future, to get that Chase Brown workload just because of his sheer size. Yeah. Ethan made
I've been
a great
grabbing
pick
him
there.
everywhere in C2Cs.
I don't blame you, dude. Like, again, just a guy with that, a guy that big with that much athleticism, that's a fun shot to take in any kind of these leagues.
Alta McCaskill in the 17th round is really good value.
I am a little skeptical that he's going to get. I think he's going to get game scripted out of a lot of games. That's kind of my big drawback with really the Colorado offense in general. Is I don't think they're going to be that good, but at the same time, like Alta McCaskill, especially now, he can catch out of the backfield. That's great and everything like that. But like if they're literally never running the ball, I'd rather just take a shot on a guy like Xavier Weaver or something like that, even at least this late.
Your boy Bert Emanuel getting going right here in the 17th.
Yep. Again, fun little Maction upside play right there, but I still think I have the best. I still think I have the best Maction quarterback on my team already, so I'm not crying myself to sleep at all here. I'm gonna look up some stats on a guy real quick. I just want to make sure I am saying this right when I get to him.
Make me feel dirty right here. I'm telling you, I had to take him though because he was still sitting there.
Dude, Dominic Lovett, like, there are people out there who will say don't draft a wide receiver out of Georgia. I am of the opinion of I have not drafted any wide receivers out of Georgia. But if you're going to draft a wide receiver out of Georgia, Lovett is the guy that you need to go with. He has stood out immensely in camp throughout the spring. I have heard people call him unguardable at times this spring. So I think he's good for about 50, 60 catches. I have no idea what that kind of efficiency is going to turn into. But if you can get 50, 60 catches out of a wide receiver this late, I think you're feeling pretty good about yourself. I don't know which way I want to go here.
And then Shane stole Brew McCoy from me because I was going with him next round.
You're going to draft the whole Tennessee team. So, I mean, that just means you got to draft Ramel Keaton now, right? Like that's how this works.
him and Joe do have a good chemistry together. So,
alrighty, I'm going to take a guy that really was going somewhere last year as a true freshman. It could be a ton of fun now that Kirk Soraka is over there at this team. Give me Samuel Brown, running back out of Rutgers. I got to give credit to Andrew Katz for bringing this guy back into my mindset. Before he was injured for the rest of the season, this dude went 15 carries against Ohio State for 79 yards, 16 carries against Nebraska for 63 yards, and then against Indiana, 28 carries for 101 yards and a touchdown. He was building up to be... Oh, shoot, I'm still on the clock. I am so dumb. It's been a while since I've taken a tight end, so let me take Dallin Holker here. I like Dallin Holker. Possibly the next Cole Turner over there. That's kind of my thoughts process there. But let me continue talking about Samuel Brown because this is kind of a fun pick. Again, he was building himself up to be that next guy for Rutgers. Again, it's Rutgers. You're kind of you're concerned about like how many touchdowns they're going to score in a year and everything like that. But they bring in Kirk Soraka. Kirk Soraka has been that guy at Minnesota who has pushed for that Mo-like workload over there. Samuel Brown, over 6 foot, 220 pounds. This is a dude that has some meat on him and can take the hits. I think he's a ton of fun here in the 17th round, so I will go there. And I'm feeling really good about my running back room. Usually a lot better than I do this late in the draft. So now I think I'm probably going to focus on wide receiver in the next upcoming picks, take some shots on some guys and some systems here. Tommy, it's coming back over to you. What are you kind of hoping for here, man?
There's a couple running backs I'm kind of looking at here that I'm wanting to take.
All right, let's see. I'm just loading up my queue with the different guys.
Because as of right now, I only have 4 running backs, so I'm gonna need another couple of them to get me through the year.
So, Austin, give me 1 second and I will answer your question here. Again, I just want to double check to make sure I am talking about the right deal. All right, there we go. So, Austin asks in the chat, he says he doesn't know what his ADP is right now, and I can tell you, Austin, it is not very high at all. He's definitely not being taken in the top 20 rounds. I can tell you that much. He's kind of surprised to see no love for Deion Hankins with that dual running back / wide receiver eligibility from UTEP. I think the major problem is... Actually, no. Oh, shoot. I didn't realize that Ronald Awatt had graduated. Okay, Austin. I'll be real. I do think he probably does deserve a little bit more love, so good job there. Emory Jones and 3 solid quarterbacks coming off the board right there, and E.J. Warner, Byron Brown, and Emory Jones. I talk about it on tomorrow's CTN a little bit. Again, we talk Temple, we talk UNLV tomorrow, so you know it's going to be a good CTN tomorrow. I'm a little bit concerned about E.J. Warner in the fact that so much of his passing volume came from the fact that they just played from behind so much. But I also don't expect that to change this year. So, good volume pick right there. Tommy, Logan Diggs going to LSU. I personally think this is a mess of a running back situation over there. Oh, dang, Corey. Good pick with Trayvon Rudolph there. Mess of a running back situation there at LSU. I think they got a lot of mediocre guys for the most part. What are you so sold on with Logan Diggs going to LSU?
He's the best one in the room. He's a Brian Kelly guy. He was recruited by Brian Kelly, brought over at Notre Dame. Was probably the best running back at Notre Dame last year. I thought he was better than what Estime was. And then, so I think him going to LSU, I think they brought him in for a reason. They knew that their running back room was really mediocre, so they wanted to add more of a high level guy. And I think Diggs is that guy. You kind of jumped on me last week for taking him in the 10th, so I let him slide to the 18th this week.
And do you feel better about getting him in the 18th than you do the 10th?
Oh, obviously. I mean, anytime, I still don't think I reached too high for him last week, but I still think he's going to have that type of season. But 18th is obviously, 18th is obviously much better value, than what the 10th is.
Oh, absolutely. Because now you grabbed a guy that you think is a 10th round value versus a guy like Reggie Brown. So you get both. Right. You get two in your mind. You got two 10th round value guys.
Sure.
So got some people in the chat kind of chime in on their thoughts on the LSU running back room. Shane thinks that Josh Williams takes the lead role at LSU next year, which I don't know. Isn't Josh Williams is a former walk-on, right?
I mean, they got Diggs now. They got Emery. They got they brought in those two freshmen. Isn't Armani Goodwin still there?
Yes, Armani Goodwin's still there as well.
Noah Cain is still there.
Noah Cain's still there, and that's what Luke said. Noah Cain steals goal line touches, not to men design QB plays. Luke is an LSU fan, so he's probably kind of being the most honest out of the bunch as to why Logan Diggs' upside is a little bit capped there, because again, there's just other guys to steal touchdown opportunity from him.
Well, what do you think, Luke, about Diggs' role though? Do you think he becomes the RB1 there?
We'll see what Luke says here in the chat. I need to look up some stats real quick to again to answer another one of these questions here in the chat, because again, I want to make sure I'm saying the right stats here. Okay, there we go. So, Jeremy Miller asks, why no love for Lob's last pick here? Nakia Watson, 18th round running back pick out of Washington State.
I was actually in between Diggs and Watson there, and I went with Diggs. So
I think Watson is a good pick here this late, but I understand why he's fallen kind of back here a little bit. It's Ben Arbuckle's system over there. And like, look at Ben Arbuckle, look at Zach Kittley. The system they run just is not favorable to running backs whatsoever, even guys that are pretty decent at catching out of the backfield. So I think that's why Watson kind of this late is probably, like, I'm not like over the moon excited about it. But at the same time, like, if Watson truly is the best running back that Arbuckle has been able to work with, and they get him more work than we've seen in the past from those two, then yeah, excellent pick here later on, especially in a PPR league, which this draft is half point PPR. I think that was I think that's a good pick. All right, hold on. Let me just double check on something. Trying to handle multiple chats at once. By the way, Taylor, if you're listening to the stream, you asked earlier how many people are. Come on. Yeah, he said how many people are starting each position. Again, it is 2 quarterback, 2 running back, 3 wide receiver. Fairchild didn't make it back to me. Come on, Corey. Anyway, 3 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 1 flex spot right there. No defenses or kickers. Yeet Man says, there is fantasy for college. I feel like it would be random as hell because who knows what will happen in college football. Yeet Man, let me tell you, sir, that is the fun part about this. Again, we do a ton of research trying to predict what is going to happen in this upcoming year, and there is a lot of things that'll go right for us. But guess what? There's going to be a lot of things that go horribly, horribly wrong for us, and it is going to be absolutely wonderful regardless. Again, we do a lot to make sure that we try to get it right every year. I'm on the clock. But again, like, that's part of the charm of college fantasy football. All right. Well,
Jared probably remembers my first year of playing CFF.
Yes, sir, I do.
My team was not good. It was just not. It was terrible.
All righty.
I think I had Marcel Barbie on my team as like my wide receiver 3. It was pretty rough.
Dude, I guarantee you it was better than my first year playing college fantasy. Because again, when I started playing college fantasy, like, you know, you had a couple guys out there and everything like that, but like, I wasn't smart enough to listen to any of those guys, so I just went with guys I'd heard of before. And let me tell you, there was a lot learned that very first year. All right, golly, I don't love people who are on the board right now, but I kind of want to take another wide receiver. But again, nobody I really love right now, so I got 20 seconds to make a pick. All right, we'll just go a guy that I've kind of been warming up to just a little bit more and more Malik Rutherford out of Georgia Tech over there. Buster Faulkner's bringing in the Todd Monken system over there from Georgia. I think you add that to a team that has a horrible defense and is going to be forced to pass even more than what Georgia did last year. That could be a ton of fun, and Malik Rutherford should be the wide receiver 1 over there, so I'm taking a shot there.
What do you think about Branson Robinson being the first Georgia running back off the board?
I think it's absolutely horrendous. Sorry. No offense, Goose. Branson Robinson's the RB3 at Georgia, at least to start this year. It's going to be Kendall Milton, it's going to be Dejon Edwards, and then it's going to be Branson Robinson. The fact that both Branson and Dejon Edwards coming off the board here is just proof that the propaganda machine against Kendall Milton has worked to absolute perfection, because it's absolutely insane. He'll get the first carry in every Georgia game this year so long as he stays healthy. He is going to be the guy that they rely on the most out of all of the running backs. So whoever gets Kendall Milton, honestly, I might just add him to my queue right now, because like if those two are off the board right now, then shoot, I'll take the shot on Kendall here. Now that I said that, he's definitely coming off before my next pick, but screw it.
You said his name too many times.
I said his name too many times. Yeah, Shane, I did tell you that last year. You know what happened? He got injured. So screw me for a guy getting injured. All right? That's why he didn't end up being good last year, because he got injured. All right? Dejon will be the RB2, but he is not a guy that Georgia wants to rely on this year. I can promise you that.
Right, because McIntosh's main role last year was supposed to be the catching back, wasn't it?
Yeah, so he was supposed to be kind of like the James Cook, and he's a little bit better of an in-between tackles runner than James Cook, but at the same time, like, so again, let me. I'm trying to follow this conversation going on between J Mill and Yeet Man, because J Mill said once you go CFF, NFL seems dull. And Yeet Man asks, why do you say that, J Mill? J Mill says, well, there's just so many different ways to put together a roster and so much variety with the huge player pool. Plus, it gets you interested in games you would never think about watching, all of which are very, very true statements. Yeet Man,
wait until you're watching Ball State against Bowling Green on a Tuesday night.
It's beautiful. I love how much it invests us into games that you never would have thought before. Again, Yeet Man, you said you're trying to get into it this year. It is hard to get into at first. But again, one of the goals I have with doing drafts like this every single Sunday is to kind of bring people in. There goes Kendall Milton. Good job, Carp. You did it. Or good job, Ryan. You did it. And Dan, Cody Schrader came off the board with Ethan too. Ethan's not allowed in these drafts anymore. He does too good of a job.
He took Sam Brown. I was targeting him later. I didn't even notice he went.
I know. Ethan's too darn good at this. You're not allowed, Ethan, if you're listening, you're not allowed in here anymore. Again, Yeetman, CFF probably helps you out with predicting NFL prospects. Tommy, that's something you can definitely touch on here. How much is you started playing CFF in order to kind of learn about more people in the college side of things? You can definitely answer to that. How has it helped you over the last couple of years?
Well, I mean, you get to know who these NFL prospects are. Obviously, everybody who is CFF relevant is not a Devy prospect,
of course.
But you do get to learn who these guys are, and especially on these bigger programs. Like, I mean, you got Nicholas Singleton, who may not be a quote unquote high end CFF producer, even though he kind of is. But just like going back last year to compare it. In a Devy space, you would want Nicholas Singleton over Deuce Vaughn. CFF, you'd want Deuce Vaughn over Nicholas Singleton.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of learning who these guys are. That way, it gives you a better. Oh shit, it's my turn. It gives you a better understanding of who you're going after in your dynasty leagues.
No, yeah, absolutely, and like it not only. CFF, like you said, it forces you to watch some of these games on the weekend that you never would have thought of really watching before. And it helps you kind of really be first on a lot of these guys compared to guys that are playing just regular NFL Dynasty. Like, the guys you play against in NFL Dynasty may not even know these guys' names until like 2 months before the draft. And that's when they start doing their research. They follow their favorite dynasty pods and they're learning about the guys then. If you play college fantasy, you can know about some of these guys since the time they were freshmen. And shoot, if you follow our Campus Canton podcast group, like I cover college fantasy. We got a show called The Official on Fridays. They're talking about these guys in high school. So if you like, again, it helps you kind of dig deeper and deeper into truly getting ahead of the game for college fantasy. So Yeetman asks, is Bijan or Gibbs replacement going high? Gibbs replacement, yes. Jace McClellan came off in, I believe, the 4th round of this draft. He goes a little bit lower than Jahmyr Gibbs went last year because there is, I don't want to say a clog at running back there at Alabama, but like you have other options like Roydell Williams and again, Roydell Williams, Jamari Miller, and now Justice Haynes coming in as a freshman. So he goes a little bit lower than Jahmyr Gibbs went last year. And then Bijan's replacement is not going high because we don't know who Bijan's replacement is. There's kind of it's a 3-way fight there between Jonathan Brooks, who's kind of the veteran guy. Shoot, I'm on the clock.
Did CJ Baxter already go?
Yes, he did.
Okay, I must have missed that.
All right, I'm going to take a running back here. And then do I want to take another wide receiver? Possibly, maybe. I don't know. Maybe quarterback? Yes, I do want to take a quarterback because Will Howard's still on the board. I'll take that. Anyway, continuing what I was saying. Jonathan Brooks is kind of your veteran guy there at Jonathan Brooks is your kind of veteran guy there at Texas. Jadon Blue is a freshman last year who it seems like is starting to come along, at least here in the spring. So he might be the guy. And then Cedric Baxter is a 5-star freshman that's coming in this year who many people think might take over this very year. So it's kind of a 3-way fight there. We know that one of them will be 1,000-yard running back because Steve Sarkisian always has a 1,000-yard running back. We just don't know which one it is going to be.
Well, and then their backup is going to be extremely valuable. Extremely valuable. Also, just go back to last year with Roschon Johnson.
Oh yeah,
Roschon Johnson would have started nearly anywhere else in the country.
Yeah, no, Roschon Johnson absolutely would probably start. I don't say anywhere else in the country, but like I would say like
close to it though. Like
85% of programs out there. Speaking of Texas running backs, Tommy, you took your shot on the running back room. You saw that Cedric Baxter and Jonathan Brooks they're both gone, yeah, so you took a shot on Blue.
Yeah, I mean 22nd round. I didn't have any issue going Blue there. He looked really good in the spring. What a lot of people don't realize is he didn't play his senior year of high school. So last year was like a reacclimation to football for him, and especially coming into a high major program like Texas. I don't think the plan was for him to ever really play a whole lot last year.
No, it makes a lot of sense there. I'm going to go ahead and add a few more guys to my queue here as I'm thinking of them. I need to update my rankings. It's been a minute. I kind of froze my rankings during the process of the CFF guide. Because, again, I didn't want it to move around and everything. Yeetman, where does Marvin Harrison go? He goes right up here. He was the 5th person off the board. And quite frankly, he goes as high as number 2 overall. Let's see. What's kind of going on here in the draft? This is why I'm kind of glad I don't wait on running backs. I try to load up on running backs in the mid rounds because, again, I'm looking at a lot of these guys. Like, I think that you got some good picks here, like Trey Sanders at TCU, taking the shot at the Texas running back room. I get, but like, again, Larry McCammon. I talk about that again. Tomorrow's CTN, it'll include talk on UNLV, Temple, and Florida Atlantic. So it is going to be quite the show. But we talked about the running back situation there at Florida Atlantic. Tom Herman has always used running back by committee. Yeah, McCammon got like 200 touches last year. I don't think he gets even close to that this year. I think Mobley outperformed on a down-by-down basis, so he's gonna earn some touches. And then you have Kobe Lewis coming in over from Central Michigan and Purdue, who is also going to be in the mix there. He's got 3 running backs. It's going to be a full committee there. So let's see what else is coming off the board here. TJ Sheffield out of Purdue. Jack Plummer, quarterback out of Louisville. I thought about taking him if Will Howard wasn't there. I thought about taking Plummer to kind of stack him up there with Jamari Thrash, but I'm okay with him kind of coming off the board here. So, and Jeremy says, okay, finally I hear the logic of why McCammon has slipped. Again, it's going to be a committee over there. Again, I don't trust that running game I trust the running game. I just don't trust the fact that McCammon's going to get the workload like he got last year. Speaking of FIU, the actual fantasy asset there in the late rounds, Casey Thompson just came off there. Tommy, you just took Oscar Cardenas out of UTSA. Talk to me about that guy.
I mean, he had a really good year last year. See, what did he do? I think he had over 400 yards receiving last year. 31 receptions, 438 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. That's really solid production for a tight end in a really high octane offense. Frank Harris, great college quarterback, has had 3 great wide receivers. Obviously, Zachary Franklin transferred out. I think that may leave a little, a few more targets for Cardenas there, and to go along with Cephas and Clark. Kavorian Barnes, I think, is going to have a really big year also, and I think you grabbed him, didn't you?
Yes, Kavorian Barnes, I grabbed him in the 3rd round.
Yeah, so I'm actually pretty happy to grab Cardenas there in the 23rd round as my second tight end.
Yeah, no, I think that, for you to have waited so long on tight end, I think that's a very fun pick right there. I'm going to grab 2 wide receivers here. One, I'm going to grab, I talked about Jamari Thrash earlier. I'm going to grab his replacement there at Georgia Southern. I'm kind of getting bigger on Robert Lewis over there at Georgia State. Chris Moxley's done a pretty good job of selling me on him over there. And then, Roma Dunze and Jalen McMillan come off in like the 2nd, sometimes even the 1st round. They got a 3rd wide receiver over there at Washington, and no, he's not going to get the 10-plus targets every single week, but this is a best ball draft. I'm going to go for Jalen Polk, who showed that he can have absolutely monster games last season, sometimes just kind of out of nowhere. He's my 9th wide receiver off the board right now. I'll take a guy who can enter my lineup probably 2 to 3 times every year with just absolute monster games. Give me that all day long.
I actually like their 4th wide receiver also, the one that the Michigan State transfer, Jeremy Bernard.
Dude, I love him too.
I don't necessarily think he's going to do a whole lot this year, but next year he's going to be really good for him.
Oh, he's going to be absolutely fantastic. All right, hold on. I think I saw something. Okay, hold on. We got to make a switch out here. Tanner Mordecai back on the board. How did you manage to... Oh, okay. Luke got timed out when he picked Tanner Mordecai. Okay, that makes sense. Alrighty. Tom, 24th round. We're kind of getting into sleeper territory here. Like you're taking, like, again, you don't win your drafts by taking guys that are safe here in the round 24, 25 range and on. So where are you going to target your first kind of home run hitter play here first?
Well, I actually think this pick is pretty safe for the 24th round. I'm actually really surprised he's lasted this long. Drew Allar, Penn State quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
I mean, he has so much potential that me picking him up as my, I think, 5th quarterback now. I mean,
I think he's a solid 20 points per week easily, and he could probably even finish higher than that. But like if you're in a best ball league and you have just 1 or 2 guys in your roster that are safe 20 points every week at the quarterback position, that's probably better than what some other people will get. Like if you grab a Garrett Schrader and a John Rice Plumlee, yeah, both of them could go off for 40 points in 1 week, but also that very next week they could both come in with less than 10 points sometimes.
Right. So, whereas Drew Allar, I think, is going to be consistently in that 20-plus range. And as my 5th quarterback off the board, I just think that's very safe pick here in the 24th round.
No, very, very safe pick. All right, let's see what else is kind of going on here. Again, those of you who haven't already, I see a couple more likes coming in. If you haven't already, please go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Again, Yeet Man, I know you're in the chat. Again, you seem new to college fantasy. Stick around a while. We got shows every Monday morning that cover a whole variety of college fantasy topics. Gambit is so cute. I'm sorry. I got distracted by the cat, y'all. And then again, every Sunday night we're here, we're drafting. I got a different guest on every week. This week we got the awesome Tommy Harvey from DynastyPros.com. Last week I had Matt Bruning from Campus to Canton. 2 weeks ago, I had Mike Bainbridge from the CFF site. I got a host of awesome guests coming up in the next couple of weeks that I can't release quite yet, y'all. It is a ton, but I'm letting you know right now. Got some pretty fun guests coming up that I think you guys are going to enjoy. Appreciate the likes that are coming in. Again, we got more and more guys coming off the board here. Any picks kind of sticking out to you right now, Tommy, that are ones that you consider like those true great home run picks?
I think Braylon Braxton right there, the quarterback for Tulsa, is a good pick here. Isaac Rex, pretty good tight end pick here late in the draft. Hudson Card, even, that could end up working out as kind of a late round quarterback. Tyler Buckner, if he ends up taking that job there at Alabama, is a grand slam this late. It just depends on if he is going to be Alabama's quarterback or not. I know that they weren't happy with what their quarterback room looked like with Milroe and Simpson, so they brought Buckner in. So maybe he does end up being the guy.
Once again, Ethan is killing me this draft because, again, I was hoping to get Clay Millen here late. I'm starting to buy back into him a little bit more because, again, on tomorrow's CTN, we discuss Colorado State. Again, tomorrow's CTN, you got UNLV, you have FAU, you got Colorado State. What was the other one that I talked about earlier? I forget. I'm losing track of them. We got a ton of
Temple. Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah, so we got Temple talk as well tomorrow and everything. So it is a wide variety of fun, different college systems that we don't normally talk about. So y'all check that out tomorrow. Alrighty, what do I want?
I went ahead and went with Jalen Wright here. Jabari Small just went off the board, so I think Wright has better potential this year than what Small does. So I went ahead and took him.
I'm gonna double check my running or my. I'm going to go ahead and double check my roster real quick to make sure I don't have any glaring bye week issues. It doesn't look like I do. Maybe I need to avoid running backs that are in week 9. But for me, Carson Beck comes off too. Dang, I was kind of hoping to maybe get a little bit there. All right, let's go ahead and grab me. We're going to go ahead and grab my 6th quarterback here. Give me Braden Schrager out of Hawaii. That could be a really fun offense this year. Veer and shoot. A little bit of Hawaii talk on CTN's episode tomorrow as well. And then I'm going to grab my 4th tight end here. Give me Brevin Spanford. A very safe tight end pick here in the later rounds. I don't know what his touchdown upside's really going to be. But at the same time, they say they're going to throw the ball more. And Brevin Spanford, like outside of... I'd say, again, he's probably the most consistent returning pass catcher for Minnesota this year outside of, again, I mean, Chris Bell, again, when he's healthy, he's great, but Brevin Spanford, I think he's in for a pretty big year if they really do throw it a bit more.
Well, he had a ton of targets last year, too.
Also, Shane, by the way, wants to tell you that Wright was an awesome pick. He's a big-time athlete.
Oh, yeah, he is. I think he's actually the best running back in that room this year. Obviously, Cam Seldon is long-term, but I think Jalen Wright is probably going to be the lead back this year. He may not get the first carry every week because that may still go to Jabari Small, but I do think Wright is going to lead them in rushing again this year.
All righty. All right, I'm going to add a few more people to my queue. Again, y'all are doing a pretty good job of grabbing some later guys, so I'm having to go a little deeper into my queue to find some value. So good job to everybody drafting. And then except Ethan. Ethan, sorry man, like you're just doing too good of a job. So like I just gotta keep throwing you under the bus here. Tyrone Howell is a fun best ball pick because that dude, like, it was either nothing last year or it was like 200-300 yard games. It was just absolutely insane. But again, if he does that again this year, you get a high upside guy for 2 weeks out of the season. And he is Corey's what? What are you? wide receiver 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, ninth wide receiver for Corey. Like, shoot, I'll take that. I take that. I thought about taking him this past round. I keep forgetting to add Miles Marshall to my rankings. Like, at Miami of Ohio, he's a big dude. Like, he towers over a ton of people over there in the MAC. I need to remember to add Miles Marshall to my rankings. Anybody kind of sticking out to you here, Tommy?
Fairweather's a good tight end here pretty this late. Bo Collins going off the board here could be a very solid pick for Clemson. I know that they're changing up what their offense looks like this year, bringing in Garrett Riley. So Bo Collins could be in for a big year. So this late, I mean, if he turns out to have a solid year, that's a home run pick.
Alrighty, I'm getting a little hot here. I need to get a fan in here. It's a tiny little room.
I took Ali Jennings here in the 26th round. Just kind of a flyer.
Yeah.
See how Grant Wells does there at Virginia Tech with him. So
I'm trying to take a look at some of the players still on the board here and everything like that. A couple of good wide receivers and everything. Just kind of some fun, the late flyer guys, but nobody that's like truly standing out to be as like, oh, I must grab them at this point. Maybe I take another tight end. There's a couple. There's one guy still on the board that I think I'm probably going to take if it comes back to me. Go ahead and get a 5th tight end here. Jalen Johnson out of East Carolina, I think is a pretty good pick right there. That team's going to be awful defensively, and offense might be pretty terrible as well. But Jalen Johnson's their leading returning receiver. I take the shot there. What are you looking at, Tommy? You're on the clock.
I'm looking at tight end here. I really don't know if I really just absolutely love anybody here, but again, it's this late, I may as well go with somebody. I'm going to go with McCallan Castles. Again, another Tennessee guy. Why not?
Yeah. Again, that's what part of what makes college fantasy fun is if you believe in your team this year, like draft guys on your team, like, and make it fun for you having them on your roster. Like I said, Tommy, you got like half the Tennessee roster on your team at this point, and if they are as good, I would say it's a great offense to have a bunch of guys in. So like, yeah, why not? Nobody's going to fall to you if your 27th round pick doesn't work out here.
Yeah, McCallan Castles transfer from UC Davis, was originally at Cal, transferred to UC Davis, and now transferred over to UT, the real UT, by the way. We were a school before Texas was even a state.
I have not heard that one. That's great, dude.
But McCallan Castle is going to kind of take over that Princeton Fant role, I think.
Oh, Cedric Alexander, no. That one hurts a little bit. All right, I think I am going to take... I was going to take a running back here, but I think I'm going to wait a little bit because I don't think anybody else is really targeting these guys. I'll take another tight end, my second tight end in a row. Give me a Trayton Welsh out of Wyoming, just another good tight end system historically. And then this is such a recency bias pick for me, not because not even because of what he's actually done recently, but more along the lines of like, I just have heard about him recently and I've heard good things about him recently. I know that this offense can produce a top wide receiver when, they're actually healthy. So give me a Caden Prather wide receiver out of Maryland. Sounds like he is stepping up big time for the Terrapins over there. And I'll just take the shot on him as my 10th wide receiver off the board here. Cedric Bird. That is a name that's been coming up a lot recently that I need to do a little bit more research into.
Now, I'm assuming you like Prather more than Chambers?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Again, like Chambers is good and everything, but again, the buzz has been with Prather. Prather's been the one that has, or he came over from another Power 5 program. He's kind of faced this level of competition already. I think he's going to be in for a pretty good year this year. What are you looking at here, Tommy?
I think there's still quite a bit of talent out here. I almost want to take I think I have to. I think I have to at this point. May as well just go Michael Trigg. I mean, either him or Prescorn's going to hit. So
honestly, that's not a terrible way to go about that. Like I didn't even think that Trigg was still on the board and everything. So that works out really well for you there.
yeah.
Let's see what. I was just looking at Caitlin Black. Corey, you're doing too well, buddy. You're gonna be banned along with Ethan. Neither one of you are allowed in the drafts anymore. You're doing too good of a job. The whole point of these streams is to make me look good, you know, like that's how this is supposed to work, right? Oh man, I'm getting tired. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, it has been probably the first time in one of these drafts that I've like been feeling, because again, for those of you who don't know, I do two shows on Sundays. I record CTN earlier in the day, and then I do this later at night. Most of the time it's fine, but I don't know, for some reason tonight I'm just like, ooh, I'm gonna sleep super well after this. Is what I'm saying.
I've got to be up at 5 a.m. in the morning. So.
Oh my God, you got to go to work on 4th of July
I
week?
I got to be at work at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. So.
Oh my goodness, dude, that sucks.
Yeah.
You at least get the 4th off though, right?
Get the 4th off. Yeah, that's just part of being in the delivery business, though.
Yeah, no, I get you. I have to go in tomorrow, so I'm supposed to work from home tomorrow. It's supposed to be my first day of working from home, but our HR department decided to schedule a 30-minute training session on Monday, and that we're required to come into the office for. It's at like 11:30, so it's just in the middle of the day. Not even like a get over with first thing in the morning. It's just like right smack dab in the middle of the day. It's so fun.
At least it's not 8 a.m. to where you have to get up early.
You're not wrong, but like I kind of wish it was, so I could just have it out of the way, and then I don't have to worry about anything else the rest of the day. Because I get up pretty early already. Like I'm a pretty early riser. So we'll see. Again, we're coming on the last 2 rounds here and everything. Any picks kind of stand out to you, Tommy, that are like, once again, like scream kind of home run picks? I like the Kalen Black pick there from Corey I mentioned earlier. Caden Salter, I don't know if he.
I like the Lacey and Broden pick there. I think obviously Arkansas is looking for that wide receiver 1. I think Broden had a pretty good year last year. And then and Lacey at South Alabama, getting him this late. Goffney could actually be a pretty decent pick there at Colorado State. I know he was kind of in the mix to be that one of the main receivers at SMU until he transferred out. So moving over to Colorado State, I think he could be pretty solid there.
Yeah, it could be definitely very solid right there. Corey is coming up here. I'm getting ready to make my last 2 picks here. And I'm not going to lie. I have only 7 running backs on my team. But damn, I like the wide receivers so much better right now. So I think I'm looking at my running back situation. And I see that I got Kavorian Barnes, CJ Donaldson, Jermaine Brown Jr., Mayan Williams, Samuel Brown, Naquan Wright. And if LaQuint Allen hits for me, well, never mind, you took Ramel Keaton, so that took off one of the receivers I was thinking about taking. So good stuff there. I guess I will take another running back because I was kind of hoping to grab him and then another receiver on the board.
The only
here.
Tennessee receiver I don't have is Brew McCoy. So
I know I was kind of hoping to be able to kind of rub you a little bit on this last one right here and be able to be like, ha, I grabbed one of your Tennessee guys. But nope. You smelled what I was cooking a long way away right there.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'm going to take... So Dylan Goffney came off the board here a couple rounds early. I'm going to take Justice Ross Simmons, who was I can't remember if he was a true freshman or redshirt freshman last year. After some of the other guys kind of fell apart for Colorado State last year, he kind of stepped up near the end of the season. And then which one of these running backs do I want to roll with? Because like both of these guys have a ton of risk right here. I think I'm going to go on the team that I think is going to be the better team, per se. But I'm worried about like him getting suspended for the time that he did. Let guys like Gabe Irvin kind of catch up to him, and that's going to be full committee. But Anthony Grant, like he was the main guy at Nebraska last year for a time. Maybe he gets right back to that this year. So let's see what else. Tommy, it is your last pick. Who is your home run pick here? Swing for the fences, good sir.
I know he was hurt in the spring. Just but just because my tight end room is so thin right here, I'm gonna go Terrence Ferguson.
All right, I like it. He was good for like several 2-touchdown games last year, so yeah, why not?
Yeah, I just because my tight end room is a little thin. I've got 2 tight ends from the same team, so they obviously I kind of cancel each other out. So taking Ferguson here is just kind of just a dart throw here late.
Mm-hmm.
I needed another tight end. He's somewhat productive, so.
All right, let's see. I'm trying to figure out something here.
There are several guys I'm kind of surprised have not been drafted yet.
Yeah, well, we're definitely going to discuss some of those here at the very end of the stream here. But right now we just kind of finish up here and make sure that nobody else kind of takes our guys. By the way, this pick right here, for those of y'all that can see my cursor and everything, this is a placeholder for Travis Hunter. So taking a shot on Travis Hunter there at the very end. Did Weaver and Horn come off at all? Let me see if I can find them real quick. Weaver. Yeah, Weaver came off in the 18th round. Did Horn come off?
It looks like Horn has come off because he's not on my.
Yeah, he 23rd round.
Okay.
So honestly, getting Travis Hunter there in the 30th round when those two are coming off several rounds earlier. Again, I don't love Travis Hunter this year, but like I'd take a shot on him before I took a shot on Horn or Weaver because, like, again, he's part of Deion Sanders' Cool Kids Club. Mm-hmm. Like he's going to be the guy that Deion wants to make sure every Saturday there's a big graphic on the Colorado game that says touchdown Travis Hunter, because Travis Hunter is one of the big name dudes that he has been able to land. And
who was Mr. Irrelevant here?
Mr. Irrelevant was Mr. Jack Westover, the tight end out of Washington. Chris B, by the way, he says weird Hunter was in the system. Hunter is in the system, but because this draft is primary position only, he's still classified as a DB, therefore he doesn't show up in this league right now. It's something I need to fix for future drafts before we get started on them. I need to start keeping a list of guys whose eligibility I need to fix, because like Ben Sano is still classified as a running back here. I need to fix that. He's supposed to be a tight end. There's a couple of other guys that need to have their tight end or their eligibility changed. Like Garrett Schrader needs to be turned into a tight end, just for reasons nothing to do with the fact that I want to win the league. Alrighty. Tommy, we are here at the end of the draft. It's about 10 o'clock, so we're doing pretty good on time here. Let's run through some quarterbacks that you are kind of surprised are still on the board after all this time. There's a couple of guys here that I'm kind of shocked are still around, but I'll start with you, man. Who kind of stands out to you here?
Yeah, I've got a couple on my queue left here. Connor Wigman, quarterback, Texas A&M. He's normally drafted well within the top 25 rounds, I think. And then another guy who really doesn't ever really get taken, but I was kind of considering late is Taven Jackson, quarterback for Indiana, the transfer from Tennessee. I think he's actually I think he's actually in line to be the starter there.
It sounds like it from everything I've heard over there. Because again, Connor Bazelak transferred out of there. He's now at Bowling Green, I believe.
Yeah, Bowling Green.
So the job is kind of lined up for him. A couple guys I'm surprised came off here. I know Tyler Buckner came off the 24th round, but nobody took a shot on Jalen Milroe. Like, are we just like that is something I'm going to have to take advantage of in the future. If Jalen Milroe is going to consistently come off the board this much later, I still think Jalen Milroe is in line to start for Alabama, y'all. Like maybe I am just being stubborn here, but I legitimately think that Milroe is probably still going to start for Alabama by the time the season rolls around. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, but Buckner's connected to Reese. Yeah, Reese, who went and got Sam Hartman because he didn't trust him to run the offense. Like, Hartman came in before Reese left. So, like, I don't think Reese really has that much confidence in Buckner.
Well, to be honest, I think anybody would rather have Sam Hartman over Buckner.
Yeah, but so like I doubt that Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson, who was a former 5-star QB, are somehow that much worse than Tyler Buckner, a guy who has thrown more interceptions than touchdowns in his career so far. A couple other quarterbacks here.
Jackson Dart didn't get drafted either.
Jackson Dart didn't get drafted. And Spencer Sanders didn't get drafted. Again, I think people are avoiding that QB situation for the most part. But Cooper Lega is another quarterback. Again, it's a Blake Anderson offense. He's going to be the starter for that offense. I'm kind of surprised nobody took the shot on him. Garrett Green out of West Virginia could be kind of fun this year. But other than that, nobody else would really kind of super surprise me. Anybody else kind of stand out to you, Tommy?
Mainly just those guys. There were a couple others who probably could have been taken. DJ Uiagalelei wasn't drafted.
Was he not? No, he got drafted.
He's still on the board here. Did he get drafted? He may have been in here twice then.
Yeah, he got drafted. He got drafted.
Okay, because he's still on the board. See, has him, Jackson Dart, Brady Cook, Talia Tagovailoa didn't get drafted.
Yeah, Talia Tagovailoa didn't get drafted.
Doug Brumfield didn't get drafted. I thought with you taking White there in the 15th, maybe you would have taken Brumfield a little bit later on.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for the most part, most of the quarterbacks who should have been drafted were, other than like a Connor Wigman.
Oh yeah, here he is. Yeah, Uiagalelei got switched in the 20th round. That's probably what was it.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
All right.
Well, that makes sense then.
So let's move on to running backs. I'm trying to deal with multiple chats at the same time. I love how nobody likes to talk to me throughout most of the week, but the moment I go on a live stream, that's when everybody wants to get my attention. Running backs here. I consider taking Cartavius Norton due to what is rumored to be going on over there at Iowa State with both Hunter Deckers and Jairo Brock potentially being caught up into some gambling problems over there with Iowa State, them possibly seeing some suspension moving forward. So I legitimately thought about taking him over Anthony Grant. Henry Parrish out of Miami. If Miami does kind of get that system up and running again this year, I think he'll be a pretty big part of that, because I don't think Citizen is still healthy enough to really come back and take over that system over there. And there's a couple other guys I kind of like Thad Franklin out of UL Monroe, Robert Briggs out of Utah State, but nobody I'm super surprised came off the board here. Tommy, your thoughts on some of the running backs still on the board?
I think Noah Whittington probably could have been drafted, running back out of Oregon. I actually thought about him late in the draft, considering I already had Bucky Irving. I just kind of let him slide. Dylan Johnson's a pretty good pass catcher. Mike Washington has big time touchdown potential. Then you're looking at guys like maybe I don't know, Casey Filkins, but that's more of an injury situation with EJ Smith. Other than that, DJ Giddens probably could have been drafted also. Maybe even in those North Texas running backs.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to feel about North Texas's running back situation, because Eric Morris is over there now. I have no clue what he's going to... Again, the strength of the offense should still be those running backs, but I don't think Eric Morris is smart enough to quite real. I don't really trust Eric Morris after what he did at Washington State last year, so I'm just going to avoid that situation for the most part. Wide receivers. Dante Cephas is still on the board.
Yeah.
That kind of shocked me. I was kind of willing to let him see how far he would go, see if he went undrafted or not, and he did. Some Oklahoma State, or Brandon Presley out of Oklahoma State, I'm surprised didn't come off the board at any point. But other than that, nobody else really sticking out to me too much here. Anybody kind of stick out to you, John or Tommy?
Trey Harris didn't get drafted.
Good call.
Jermaine Burton. I know that the Alabama wide receiver room is kind of a mess, but Jermaine Burton is kind of on the higher end of that that room. Dejon Stribling, Oklahoma State. I mentioned Chambers from Maryland earlier. Julian Fleming actually kind of surprised me. He wasn't taken with the amount of Ohio State threw the ball around last year. I don't expect them to throw it around nearly the amount this year, but he's still their wide receiver 3. I like Jordan Tyson at Arizona State. I like Jordan Hudson at SMU, Micah Pittman, Utah, DJ Collins at NC State. I think all those guys could have been drafted.
Could have been. No, fair enough. Again, like a lot of guys there that, again, I think they could have been drafted. I'm not necessarily surprised with most of them that they didn't get drafted, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So,
yeah,
and then, go ahead.
They're definitely bubble guys.
Yeah. And then tight end, I'll be real. Everybody here did a very good job in terms of drafting tight ends. In fact, I see tight ends that came off in this draft that I haven't seen come off in any of the other drafts. So I guess people are more willing to take a lot of shots on tight ends later on in the draft here. Because like I'm looking at the list of guys that are still available. I really got nothing at tight end that's like shocking to me.
Yeah, I mean Joshua Simon's still there. Of course, he's probably the backup tight end, I guess, at South Carolina.
It sounds like he really is just not making an impact at all. I've been talking to Chris Moxley about South Carolina sometimes, and he never brings up Joshua Simon. So,
and then Seydou Traore, if he had a landing spot, which it doesn't look like he's even going to at this point, he would have obviously been one of the top tight ends taken. But it really does scare people off that he doesn't have he's not anywhere yet. So.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that. Again, if I'm really looking deep here, Jake Roberts at Baylor could be a pretty interesting one. You kind of mentioned earlier about Eric Gilbert. Mm-hmm. With the amount of tight ends that did come off in this draft, I'm kind of surprised nobody took the shot there. But like I was pretty clear that like I don't think he's going to really amount to much this year. So maybe people listen to that and they're just like, oh, I'm going to avoid that then. So. Alrighty, Tommy. This was fun, dude. I really appreciate you coming on. I'm glad we could finally get you on to a CTN show of some kind, dude. Again, I look forward to seeing you again when we get to the expo this upcoming year. Are you guys gonna have a booth up there at the expo again this year?
We're not setting up a booth this year, but we are going to be there. We're mainly just going to be there, just hanging out. Hey,
that's the best part about it. Is that when you
absolutely
just go,
it is. I mean,
like
we spent 6 hours at a table last year, and it was just like, why? Just go mingle,
Just go mingle with people. If you have something like to show, it's like it's great. But if it's just like if you're just there and you're like, hi, we do Dynasty content. Here's our website and everything. Like, you just go around with some cards and talk to people that way. It's so much more fun. But again, Tommy, it was great having you on, man. Really appreciate it. Again, you're probably going to be back in these drafts starting next week and everything like that. But I'm glad we were able to come on and have a show with it, man. It has been awesome. Really appreciate all of you guys who were in the chat. Appreciate you guys with the questions, keeping the chat lively for the most part throughout the show. Those of you who left a like, there's really nothing else to say except for keep subscribing here to Canton, Chasing the Natty. We keep these shows every Sunday. We got regular shows coming out on Monday morning, so be sure to check out tomorrow's show as well. Until then, really appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys next week. Have a wonderful week, y'all. Happy 4th.